May 22nd, 2010, a Bitcoin developer named Laszlo Hanaski bought what could be the foremost priceless meal in human history. Once he paid somebody 10,000 Bitcoin to choose up to deliver him two pizzas from Papa John's. As long as Bitcoin is currently priced over 30,000, those pizzas value looking back somewhere north of $300 million. Nowadays, of course, nobody would consider netting out Bitcoin for one thing as mundane as this stupidly initially about what proportion of cash they might be discarding within the future. Within the years since Hanaski splurged, Bitcoin has gone from being a remarkable experiment in localized finance to being the best performing plus the last decade, rising out of 10,000, 100,000% since 2010 and jumping 220% last year alone. There is a Bitcoin ticker on each finance website. Legendary investors like Paul Tudor Jones, Stanley Druckenmiller, and Bill Miller speak with approval of its prospects. And corporations like Square and MicroStrategy have invested their company money into Bitcoin despite being terribly risky and volatile, as proven by the 25th drop it took between last weekday and Monday afternoon. Bitcoin has, in some sense, been admitted to the club and is currently seen by several plausible competition to assets like gold. However, they're on the approach. The one thing happened: Bitcoin utterly lost the original reason for being. Bitcoin was, after all, not designed to be speculative plus. It absolutely was designed to be currency, a replacement medium of exchange that folks might and would use to interact daily business with one another. That's why we have tendency to decide it as a cryptocurrency. Once Bitcoin was first introduced to the planet in 2008 during a white book, its mysterious creator, UN agency dubbed himself Satoshi Nakamoto, delineated it as strictly peer-to-peer version of electronic money, which would enable online payments to be sent directly from one party to another while not looking at establishment. He baked Bitcoin as an electronic payment system supported by cryptological proof rather than trust, permitting that any two willing parties interact directly with one another will not necessity for trusty third party, sort of a bank MasterCard company. And that's precisely what Hankaz was doing on it day in 2010. Causation and electronic payment directly from himself to a different person with none third party being concerned. He could have unwittingly created a terrible investment call. However, he was exploiting Bitcoin precisely because it had been designed to be used. It is straightforward to forget currently, however, Bitcoin's promise in those period of time that it might be replacement currency, one that might challenge the form of government supposed enactment of currencies, just like the dollar, which are area unit issued by governments, by being untraceable cash that will enable individuals to conduct business cheaply and anonymously. And since Bitcoin was designed to possess a set range of coins, it'll have 21 million coins by 2140. Then no additional individuals might use it without fear regarding inflation, dishonoring its price. It is absolutely and was a sort of cyberpunk fantasy that hypnotized several. As recently as 2018, Twitter chief operating officer founder Jack Dorsey ever said the world can ultimately have one currency. I, in person, believe that it'll be Bitcoin. Even these days, you'll be able to still realize pundits who trumpet Bitcoin's revolutionary prospects and purpose to things like PayPal's arranged to supply its merchants the flexibility to interact with cryptocurrencies in 2021 as proof that the radical amendment is afoot. And nevertheless, the truth that Bitcoin has never extremely functioned as a currency, nearly from the start, solely a little share of Bitcoin transactions are actual merchandise and services. And of these, several are illicit merchandise and services like medicine and online gambling. Most Bitcoin transactions are trades, individuals merely shopping and merchandising it. The blockchain analysis company Chainalysis, as an example, found that within the first 4 months of 2019, just 1.3% of total transactions concerned merchants, which trend has solely accelerated because the price of Bitcoin has soared. Strikingly, despite the speculative fever that has encircled Bitcoin, the overall range of transactions has up solely gently over the past 2 years, which range therefore little relative to overall range of electronic bank and MasterCard transactions to be barely the price mentioning. On average, there are units currently 325,000 Bitcoin transactions, 325,000 Bitcoin transactions together with trades per day. There are roughly a billion MasterCard transactions per day. Some of the failure of Bitcoin to measure up to its promise as currency must do with sensible issue with the manner of it works. Most clearly, the very actual fact that Bitcoin style makes it very slow processing transactions. As an example, Visa processes 6,000 transactions a second and has the capability to try to do it again and again and again, that again. Bitcoin will do 7. Therefore, Bitcoin transactions usually take protracted time to finish. That doesn't work. Therefore, if you're attempting to use Bitcoin at a native shop, maybe shopping one thing online, Bitcoin group actions fees have additionally at total different points been shockingly high throughout the last Bitcoin boom in 2017. Fees reached as high as $55 per group action, and whereas they've come back down sharply since then, as recently as might it quite price quite at $6 a shop. One thing Bitcoin, that's not a haul if you're creating associate degree investment. However, it is a giant obstacle if you wish to shop for pizza pie. The A lot of elementary drawbacks for Bitcoin as a currency, though it has got to do with terrible factor many individuals like concerning it, namely that the provision of Bitcoin is controlled and restricted. As a result, the provision is prescribed once demand for Bitcoin rises because, say, individuals square measure conceive, they'll get made fast by shopping it. Then the worth of Bitcoin goes to the rise furthermore. So if you suspect Bitcoin go become widespread, then it's foolish to pay for a pizza. You must hoard it and sell it once the value rises. And since you'll get on utterly wild without not dispersing Bitcoin, there's never been something pushing individuals to prevent billboards. A lot of individuals hoard Bitcoin, treating it as a speculative quality, the less appealing it looks as a currency. On prime of this, the extraordinary volatility of Bitcoin's worth, that, as we've seen within the past week, will fall 100% to 20 night long, discourages businesses and people from accepting Bitcoin in exchange for real product and services, since a few individuals wish to induce pay these with one thing which may be 100% less valuable tomorrow. Of course, it would even be 100% a lot of value. However, that sort of gamble isn't one most businesses have interest in creating. Bitcoin's transformation from purported currency to speculative quality, in different words, was effectively engineered into the system from the beginning. It's wherever Bitcoin was headed right along. Cryptocurrencies have emerged in Bitcoin's wake. That square measure is designed to operate as currencies. However, paradoxically, their obscurity close to as well liked as Bitcoin, despite the fact that it's going to be designed as a payment system and as a medium of exchange, form of a digital analog to gold. Like gold, Bitcoin is efficacious to extent that individuals suppose it's valuable. You purchase it, and as a result, you thinking that some other person can pay additional for it within the future. And like gold, its price can't be inflated away by financial organizations. The fact that Bitcoin has no intrinsic worth, the method of stock or bonds doesn't mean it's headed to zero. It simply means Bitcoin has become wholly unbound from its original purpose, what was purported to be the way to revolutionize individuals' everyday money lives is currently largely the way for people to urge wealthy fast or lose their shirts, or in a perfect state of affairs for individuals to safeguard their wealth against inflation. Bitcoin began as a cryptocurrency. It is all over as a crypto asset.